have a lot of colleges and universities. We have schools in every town. Take a look at our television. Take a look at our newspapers. Take a look at the crime rate. Take a look at the drugs. Take a look at this incredible debt the United States of America has. We can't even figure out how to pay the interest on it, no less the debt. How did we get into that shape? Certainly it wasn't a lack of knowledge, it wasn't a lack of education. We have very highly educated people. Something obviously was missing. They had missed the most important thing of all. And that's why in this conference, we're not just looking at education. We're looking at education from an Islamic viewpoint. What do Islamic ideals have to do with society, with our children growing up into responsible people that can grow up into good citizens, that contribute to the economy, that contribute to their families, that contribute to their communities, that become fine, upstanding citizens, instead of gangsters and drug addicts and prostitutes and morons? What's a real moron? That's a true abominable idiot. And what is the worst idiocy of all? Not having any concept of who you are, of why you're here, of what are the really most important things in life. That's a real dummy. And I don't care if it says PhD after their name, they would still be a dummy. You see that little piece of paper? The degree is just a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper that people have a lot of confidence in. They say, oh, he's got this piece of paper, he must know something. But all of us, as human beings, first have to know the vital, most important things in life. When we have that basis to grow from, we can go in any direction. It's very much like a plant that needs certain nutrients in order to grow. It has to have the sunlight. It has to have the water. It has to have the nutrients from the soil. If you take those away, no matter how beautiful the plant is, no matter how much time you have spent telling this plant to grow, it's going to die. Because the most important things are missing. So what I would like to address mostly today is the Islamic viewpoint in education. We not only need schools that teach Islam, we need schools that teach all subjects from an Islamic viewpoint. And not just in the schools, we need college and universities. We also needed to start at the very most important place where all of us started our education. It wasn't in a school, it was in our homes. And before you can put education in your home, and put knowledge of Allah, of God in your home, and put true learning about Islam in your home, you have to first put it in your heart. Because if it's not in your heart, you're just talking a lot of words. Words are pretty meaningless when you don't feel it. Everything starts here before it ever goes here. And if you haven't engaged this, don't bother engaging that. And definitely don't engage this. They have to go in that order, you see? Now we have leaders in the world, some of them good, some of them bad, some of them in between. Some of them good on some days, bad on other days, in between on the weekends. Possibly they're trying their best. I don't know. I take a look at the statistics. In the main career that I do, I analyze a lot of information. My job is taking enormous amounts of money and making them more enormous. It's actually much harder than it seems. Spending money is easy. Investing it and making it grow is quite difficult. Going shopping is fun. Doing very large multi-billion-dollar investments is hard work. Yes, I got an education to do that, yes. Great schools. I'll tell you, in all honesty, I'm being absolutely honest. I would trade away every day that I spent in a university classroom, every day that I spent, for 1 minute with the Quran. It's the truth.
Takbir!
When I talk to people who are not Muslims about the Quran, they're always totally shocked. They think it's just a nice book. It has pretty gold writing on it in Arabic calligraphy. That's about all they know, what the cover looks like. They open it up, they see this fancy Arabic writing, they say, oh, that's cool, looks pretty. I know people who are Muslims who have Qurans wrapped up in pretty materials. They put them on a shelf and they look at it. Someone must have told them this is some magic book. If you look at it enough, it changes your life. Yes, it's a magic book. It takes reading it. When the angel appeared to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he didn't say, take this book, put it on a shelf, look at it a lot. He commanded him to read, right? Recite the Holy Quran. This book is like the how to do it book for life. It's how to get from here to there. And where is here? Here is where you're sitting right now. And where is there? There is paradise. It would be really nice to have a map to get from here to there, wouldn't it? So the thing that really confuses me is we have this incredible map. It is so totally excellent. And it doesn't just give you the general pattern like, oh, it's somewhere in that direction. It gives you a lot of specifics. It gives you so much information on so many subjects. And how many of us, as Muslims, really spend an adequate amount of time with the Quran? Think about that. And how many people that you know who are Muslims really read the Quran and really understand it and use it? When you talk to a fellow Muslim, in every hour's time, how many times do you hear him reflect on the Quran and on the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ? How often does he refer to the Sunnah? If he's gone an hour without mentioning something, he's missing it. He's missing it. Because everything in our life, everything in our life is guided by that book. And it's an incredibly powerful and incredibly informative and incredibly majestic book. I brag about the Quran a lot because it's my favorite book. I love it a lot. It's better than American Express. You don't leave home without it. When I was young, my parents didn't believe in spoiling their children. We had a very, very good education. I was raised a Catholic. We went to a Catholic school. The education was very strict, and it was a very good education, alhamdulillah. And I thank my parents for putting us in a private school when they could just as easily have put us for free in a public school. And that took dedication. That meant that they cared about our future. They were Catholics. My father was a Marine. You can guess how tough our life was. There was a lot of very strong principles taught in my family. You had to be respectable and responsible and moral and decent. You had to obey your father or face the consequences. You had to respect your mother at all times, even when you're ready to pull your hair out. These are very, very important principles. And they're not taught in the schools. They're taught in the home. And nowadays, the schools not only are not teaching principles and morals and ethics and integrity, they're trying to eliminate it from school systems totally. They want to keep school very generic. You just study that topic, that's all. We just want to study about things and stuff and dates and when things happen and who did it. But the thinking process is completely eliminated. You're not encouraged to search. You're not encouraged to really think deeply, to expostulate on your own, make your own decisions, form your own theories. That has to happen from the cradle. That has to happen from concerned parenting. So I encourage all of you, the first step in Islamic education is knowing and understanding and using and living your religion, loving Allah above everything, and really showing it in every aspect of your life. Because then you are not just being a Muslim, and when you're learning your religion, you're not just educating yourself. Everything that you do, everyone you touch, everyone you speak to, is also becoming educated, you see? So you all become like ambassadors of Islam. I have a little title called Ambassador of Goodwill for the Islamic and Arabian cultures. Oh, it looks nice on a card. It was in my heart long before it was on a card. I was doing this like 18 years before someone got around to printing it on a card. But the truth is, the card doesn't mean anything. Because we're all ambassadors of Islam, aren't we? That's what we're all here for. And in everything that we do is a reflection of our beautiful religion. Try to keep that in mind. In everything you do, it's a reflection of your religion. Everything. So when that jerk on the street is giving you all kinds of trouble, and you just shout back at him, call him every name in the book and a few that no books have written about yet, are you really being a Muslim? Because there's a lot of those jerks on the street, aren't there? And they're always going to be there. Like Sheikh Nazim said this morning, talking about all the devils. I can't really repeat the word that he used to describe the devils. They're bad. They're really lousy. Devils are really lousy. And they're not just like we read about in storybooks. That kind of evil is in people too. And we have to tolerate, and we have to stay very close to our religion, and we have to do what we know in our hearts is right, no matter what temptations try to sway us in other directions. And that's education, you see? Teaching that kind of tolerance and that kind of love of your religion and that kind of dutifulness to what are your responsibilities in this world. That's the first education that we teach our children. Then let's move on to schools. Why do the Catholics have schools in nearly every single city and we have so few? How come? Anybody have any ideas how come? I still haven't been able to figure it out. I'm very sincere about not being able to understand it. I wish somebody would enlighten me. Because in the Muslim community we have some very wealthy countries, don't we? Don't we? Allah has been gracious to us. He's given us wonderful natural resources, especially oil in many of our countries. We need more Islamic schools. We need Islamic colleges. We need Islamic universities. We need Islamic groups and communities. We need to spread Islam before it's too late. When I say before it's too late, I'm not saying that because it sounds like something interesting to say. I'm saying it because I've been in positions that most other people in this room have not been in. You haven't had the opportunity to sit with people who are the ones that make decisions, who move gigantic amounts of money, who run countries, who run banks, who run what they call Fortune 100 companies, multinational companies. They run the world. They run the world. And they're not all good guys. I've seen it. I know what goes on out there. And the future is a little bit bleak if it keeps going in the same direction. I know that you know what I'm talking about, don't you? Don't you? And all you have to do to refresh your memory, pick up the newspaper. Hey, this morning, what did they do? Bombed 3 American embassies in 3 different countries? You know, that's breakfast news. What do we have all over the newspapers today? Oh, some lady with a stain on her dress that has been doing strange things. And everybody's all really interested in this Monica lady because of her immorality. Wow, that's news. The strange thing is, this is a society, this is a world that really thinks that is news. That's important. Isn't that a little bit odd? To realize that there are many human beings out there thinking that way. Turn on the television. Do you see any of these very strange talk shows? Have you seen them? How ugly they are? They bring people on who are perverted and obnoxious and psychotic, and they make them celebrities. And they teach the world to admire them and accept them as normal. This is a weird world we're living in. Very, very weird world. And if we don't accept our responsibilities to educate ourselves and our children and our communities from an Islamic viewpoint, what is going to happen to our children? What kind of world are they going to inherit? And are they going to be able to cope with it? I'm sure many of you have children, right? Really precious things, aren't they? Really incredible beings, children. So totally perfect in every way. I have children. I have 3 of them. I'd like for there to be a world in the future. My son, Hunter, he's 20 years old. He's training for the NASA program. He wants to be the first Muslim on the moon. Says he wants to reclaim it for Allah. One day he said to me, and this is a child who's very, very bright. He started college at 11 years old. Yeah. He's a very remarkable young man. And one day he came to me and he said, you know, Mom, I'm thinking that the work I've been doing with helping the poor and the homeless and helping people rehabilitate from drugs and alcohol and good charity in Islamic groups and interfaith groups, I think maybe that's a little more important. Because, Mom, I'm worried that by the time I get to the moon, it might not be there. The way the world is going right now, by the time he got to the moon, there'd be no moon, there'd be no earth. We have enough nuclear bombs to blow this place up. How many times over? What has our education taught us? Where has it brought us? So we've missed the most vital points in our education. I'm encouraging you in your communities, in your countries, look into education from an Islamic viewpoint, based in the family. Wherever you have a mosque, you have a school. The mosque is a school. And that's a tradition that's gone back since before Al-Azhar University. Every masjid was a school. It was a masjid and it was a madrasa. So understand your source of learning. You have the Quran right there. Your responsibilities as a parent, vitally important. Get your children the best education you possibly can. And ensure that your masjid, your mosque, is doing its part to educate the community. I've been to many mosques all over the world in many, many, many countries. I was a little disappointed with some of them. I spoke to a few imams that said their only responsibility was to lead the prayers. Like we need them for that, right? Like none of us know how to lead the prayers. And we have these beautiful buildings, but what good is an empty building? Again, what are we missing? It's got to be here. It's got to come from the heart. Some of us seem to be parading wearing certain costumes. We're wearing the costume of Islam. But in America, they only do that on Halloween. They dress up and pretend to be somebody they are not. Okay, it ain't Halloween, guys. We got to stop dressing up, pretending to be somebody we're not. We have to be real Muslims. I gotta go now. Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. I love you all. May Allah bless you and keep you. Assalamu alaikum.
Verse 187 illustrates, they, your wives, are an apparel for you, and you are an apparel for them.
Assalamu alaikum. This is so totally cool. There's mostly ladies here. I'm going to warn you in advance, I'm going to be the most controversial speaker you're going to hear all this weekend. And the reason I'm going to be a little outspoken is because I'm among my homies here. These are all ladies. And I feel really great about that. You know, those of you who, yeah. Those of you who think of me as this very sophisticated international investment advisor sometimes get an idea that I have to play a part that's quasi-male. And I don't play that silly game because that would be throwing away my ace card. Because I am extraordinarily proud to be a woman, and men can't be one. Today, one of the most fantastic things I heard was that Her Royal Highness Princess Raja had a baby boy. Another thing men can't do. So the silly thing I sometimes observe ladies doing is trying to compete with men, which, you know, by some viewpoints might be taking a couple steps down. Did I say that? I'm going to bring up a few issues that ladies have asked me to speak about, because I'm very used to speaking to the public doesn't bother me at all to touch relatively sensitive issues. A lot of the things about women in Islam have been covered by Her Imperial Highness Nadine Sultana very eloquently, and by the representative Princess Raja, and really beautifully in Arabic and in English by Pasha Nazia. You're an incredibly lovely lady, by the way. All of you are. Aren't these gorgeous women? I am incredibly privileged to be up here, honestly. So many women in this audience. I love you guys so much, and I feel such an incredible camaraderie with you. I really do. Every time I speak on Islam, I feel like I'm not just speaking for my sake. I'm speaking for every single sister. Every one of those sisters that come up to me with those little notes, say, next time, sister, could you bring up this topic? I know that I'm obligated to be a voice for you, and believe me, I love it, and I'm privileged to do this. I noticed something that was a bit touching, by the way, I wanted to share with you. You know how some Muslims talk about treating their wives with respect? And some of them really do, alhamdulillah, and others kind of give it a little more lip service than actually showing it. While Hajj Nazia was speaking, guess who I saw come in the back of the room? The organizer of this entire conference, who is an incredibly busy man and has right now about 9,999 things he could and some may think should be doing. But he had a top priority. His wife was speaking. So we have some pretty good leaders showing us the way and living it, not just speaking about it. So let's get on to the controversial subject. First of all, ladies, I've heard a little complaint from men. Some men have said that Muslim women
Gotta get rolling. Okay, just look at him or look at the camera.
My name is Askia Mohammed Abdul Majid, and I'm a governor's appointee.
a big part. You hear a lot about raising children, and that's incredibly important, and I have 3 of my own whom I completely adore. Anybody who knows me knows how much I love my kids. And when I get a compliment on one of my kids, it's the best compliment anyone can give me. Their manners, in fact, they're so kind. They're very sweet children. Wow. I look at that and I say, I did that. And when I compare that to all of these accolades and such that I read about in magazines, and people say, oh, you're so accomplished in this, that, or whatever, what I'm really the proudest of is my children, is that I raised them. And whatever their reflection is, that's a compliment to me. However they show themselves, that's a compliment to me. If I were still married, the way my husband conducts himself is a compliment to me. Because I would know, I helped him. I supported him. I was there for him. I did every little thing that I could possibly think of to make this man the happiest human being on the planet, which, by the way, is what I think the role of a wife is. Okay? Yes. Now, as far as the throne that all of us women command, sometimes called the bedroom, I would like to say this about that. This is a very special place. It is a very honored place. Okay? This is not a place that's even remotely similar to the ugly sexual stories that you hear, to the garbage of pornography and promiscuity. That is completely the opposite side of the coin. That is totally the haram side of the coin. And just like the Quran tells us, the huge difference between halal and haram, how the Prophet Muhammad explained to the Sahaba how they should treat their wives, how the wives should treat their husbands. And it's made very clear that we as husbands and wives totally belong to each other. And when I say totally, I don't mean like pretty much so. I mean like totally. Wow, this is getting difficult, man. I'm not married anymore, so. I want to thank all of you for taking time from your busy schedules to come here and honor me with your presence. I really care about you women. I really do a lot. And I hope all of us in our own ways, in whatever avenue we happen to be spending most of our time in, are doing da'wah for Islam. And we can do that not only by spreading the word of Islam, but by being excellent examples.